Welcome to Trust AI Partners, where we dive into the cutting edge of tech innovation. Join us as we explore how AI automation is transforming the industry. If you're ready to discover the future of AI innovation and how your company can get ahead, stay tuned and connect with us for more information. From acclaimed fine dining chef to co-founder of Millie's, sparked by a bold leap in 2014, buying a Swiss pocket jet on his wife's credit card to perfect ultra smooth frozen desserts. The chef driven obsession with texture, quality, and process became the foundation for Millie's product craft, operations discipline, and brand differentiation. Today, we're bringing that lens into the food and beverage leadership. My guest, Chad Townsend, transformed a chef's precision into growth engine for Millie's, turning premium process into a scalable product and brand. Chad, it's great to have you. For listeners who don't know the Millie's story, would you introduce yourself and share the moment you realized your chef's toolkit could translate into building a consumer brand?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Thanks for having me. Super excited to participate. Um, Continue to learn more about what you do and how it is relevant in our kind of world. So I was a chef in a past life. I loved it. I still love cooking. Food is my passion. Went to culinary school. Um, and the Pacojet story is a funny one because it was me convincing my wife to buy this Pacojet for me, so I could entertain myself. Um, and it spurred this business. It spurred Millie's, and so that was our kind of milestone, buying this Paco jet, and then her saying, "Well, now you got to pay this thing off." So that was what really kicked the whole business off.
And for anybody who might not know, what is a Paco jet exactly?
Yeah, so a Paco jet is a very high end countertop piece of commercial equipment. And so what it does is it does make ice cream. It makes a few other things, but ice cream is kind of what it's known for. And so you freeze these little containers a liter at a time of your ice cream base, and then it churns them while it's frozen.
See. All right,
So
cool.
it's great. And when I left the restaurant that I was running, which I didn't own, the next logical step was to own my own restaurant. My wife was working in finance at the time. We didn't have any kids at that point, so she said, why don't you take some time to figure this out? One salary was enough for the house at that point, and so we were searching for real estate for a restaurant. And I said, well, let's get this Paco Jet. I can practice with it. That was just full BS to convince her to buy it so I could keep myself from being bored. And she agreed. I'd left the chef job, and for those folks who don't know, back in the day, chefs weren't paid the most. So I said, well, why don't you pay for this? And so she said, fine, but we got to pay it off this summer. So we set out to making ice cream to pay it off.
Tell me, what's the one lesson from fine dining that you still use today as a founder?
Service. It's all about service. And we try to, at Millie's, we refer to that as making moments. And we have a whole host of things around that, right? A discount for somebody who's having a tough day. When we empower our staff to come in or when they come in to say, you know what, you're a mom with 3 kids. The kids are running around screaming. You're going to rip her hair out. The ice cream's on us. And so we call that a day maker. And so it's all about making those moments for folks. And a little bit different from fine dining with ice cream. Most folks are walking in, looking happy, whereas oftentimes in fine dining, you saw one member of the party who was very excited and one member of the party who was like, "Oh, I've got to pay for this." Ice cream brings everybody in, and they're usually happy when they're doing it. And so we want to take and build on that happiness and make them have a great moment, a great experience, a great visit.
All about the experience. I get that.
Absolutely.
And so, high level, Uh, Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you have two parts of the business. You have the franchise locations, and then you have the core business, retail, that you're operating. And could you elaborate on how many locations, where they're at, how many corporately owned, things of that nature?
Yep, absolutely. So, we have um, a few different kind of types of locations that we scoop ice cream at. And so, what I mean by that is a traditional brick and mortar ice cream shop. We have those. We have 12 of those. We have food trucks as well. We have 8 of those. We also have some like what we refer to as specialty locations or kiosks. So think, excuse me, amusement park, inside of a college, things of that kind of nature. And so those all totaled end up being about 23.
And how many are independently owned and operated?
We own 5 of them, and the rest are all franchised.
Okay, got it. So are you spending more of your time today focused on growing the franchise model or otherwise?
Yes, almost all of it focused on growing the franchise model. And what growing the franchise model means for me, for us, is less about, just beat the street sales, more about, kind of support alongside that growth. It is very important to us as franchisors that this franchise system we've built uh, breeds people who are successful financially in it. Obviously, I'm not going to sully any big franchisors' names um, out there, but we are less interested in selling 50,000 locations and making people compete with somebody a half a mile away. More with fewer locations that perform extremely well.
And what states are they in?
So currently, we are open and operating in New York State, Pennsylvania, Florida. We have folks signed and across all steps of the process from searching for sites to full on construction / opening. And so those additional states are North Carolina, Texas, Tennessee, and South Carolina.
And what's the marketing strategy towards attracting potential new franchisees?
Yeah, so it's kind of a three-pronged approach. We work with some, franchise brokers. So pretty traditional format for adding franchisees or potential franchisees. Also, just our kind of organic marketing through, all of the big boys, Google, Meta, all of that ads. And then we work with a group called Franchise Fastlane Carpool. And so they are kind of an accelerator for growth with a limited stable of brands.
And are you handling the Google ad placement and other digital forms of advertising in-house or doing that through an external partner?
A little bit of both. We have a small but scrappy and really impressive team in house that kind of does all things, call it marketing, right? From brand presence and design in the space to developing, launching those ads and tracking metrics and KPIs on how those ads and things perform. But then we also have a few folks that we contract out, from a third party standpoint, on a project based system.
And how do you optimize the digital advertising placement? Who are you targeting? What are the media channels? Things of that
Yeah,
nature.
yeah. So we are targeting folks who are already heavily in consideration for a franchise, right? Because the thing about franchising and being a franchisee is that there's a lot that goes into it. Um, and so some people think that it is just a full entrepreneurship opportunity. And some folks think that basically they are going to be handed a location that just prints out cash. And so we have people of all scope that come to us. And a lot of them, I mean, a huge amount of them are filtered out in the qualification process, whether it be financial qualification or just an explanation to them of what is required from them on a day to day, week to week, quarter to quarter, annual basis. Um, and so once we filter those out in the first step or two, and then we start to go down the process. But as far as channels go, it is all over the map. There's some social, there's some paid social, there's some paid targeting through Google, Meta, whatever. There is a lot of advertising through these brokers, different channels and their networks, lists, texts, all of that. So we're casting a pretty wide net.
And if there's somebody out there listening who might be intrigued by owning a Millie's franchise, what would they may not? Let's say they're new to the food business, but
Yep.
they're intrigued by the concept.
Yep.
What would you tell them? How would you qualify them? How would you disqualify them?
Yeah. So we look for we look for a certain financial qualification first, right? That's step one. Because unfortunately, we have run into a few folks who seem, personality, work, etc., qualified, but just don't have the financial means to do it at the moment. And the reason that it requires that is because there is some spend required of personal money. We encourage a lot of folks to get some sort of conventional debt financing, because we always are believers and don't spend all of your free cash on anything, right? That's something that's worthwhile to preserve. And debt is a little expensive right now, but it's not ridiculous. And so there requires a certain level of financial standing to achieve that. So once they have proven that their net worth and their liquidity, or their liquid assets are at a certain level, then we go through the process, which is explaining to them that this doesn't require you're not buying yourself a job as you are with some franchises, but it requires you to be present in the store. So if you are looking to be a fully passive investor, this isn't for you. Again, some other franchises say you have to work in here 40, 50 hours a week, otherwise you're paying somebody and the economics don't work. That's not what we want either. We know that the economics work, but you've got to be present as part of the business on a few days a week.
They would have the option to explore the brick and mortar or food truck or otherwise.
Sort of. So we treat the territories as brick and mortar specific, and then you are required to get a truck alongside that.
I see.
And the reason that being is that our build outs take a little bit. They don't take a huge amount of time, but they take some time. Whereas a truck, we can get a truck going and underway, and if we all work hard at it, 60 days. And so that could be up and running, and you can be advertising, generating revenue, all of the above, because it's a big billboard. And then all the while you are concurrently, site selecting and handling construction and lease negotiation and getting that open, while we are kind of alongside you in that process.
Are you able to provide? You might not be with due to disclosures, but in terms of the average, in terms of being cash flow positive, what the duration of time would look like for the average?
Yeah. So we're finalizing some FDD stuff
Yeah.
for a new FDD. So just at the risk of not knowing when this will come out or be heard. I
Hmm.
just don't want it to be misinterpreted, right? I've learned
Sure.
in the franchise world that people will often take something and run with it. But what I
Yeah.
can say from a very high level is the average unit volume is very good, and we target a typical payback of 2-ish years. Now that's
Hmm.
obviously location dependent,
Hmm.
specific on a lot of things, but that's what we want franchisees to feel comfortable with. We want this to be a sound financial investment.
Are you seeing more success identifying the candidates through the broker channel or through the ad placement channel?
Always through the broker channel.
Okay.
Oftentimes because they have pre-qualified folks, um, and the folks that they send to us are oftentimes they know the direction that they want to head. The nice thing about ice cream is that we don't require a full kitchen component. And
Hmm.
so if you are not sure if you want to go down the path of a service-based franchise
Hmm.
or a light food franchise, we can bridge that gap pretty easily. Hiring for Millie's is very easy, and it ends up being a very enjoyable thing, versus being running a kitchen and dealing with crazy chefs and GMs and folks. This is not that. So um, the brokers oftentimes have somebody who knows what direction they're heading.
Hey, on a fun note, there's a new TV series called Black Rabbit. Have you seen it yet?
I just started watching it with my wife on Sunday night. It was a 9:30 a.m. Steelers game on Sunday, so I fell asleep before I got too far through the show. So she's traveling right now. I haven't gone back with her to find out what she thought about the episodes that she watched, but it looked great for the first few minutes that I watched.
I think you'll enjoy it. The only reason why I bring that up is because I mentioned pre-recording that my wife's been in the food industry and she basically grew up in the bar restaurant sort of environment with her father's restaurants and bars. And she said that it's the most accurate portrayal of the restaurant business that she's seen in a TV show. So,
Incredible. I'm
yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I am absolutely looking forward to it. That's wonderful.
Okay, let's talk about bottlenecks, pain points. What's the
Yeah.
primary bottleneck in growth right now?
Um, Primary bottleneck in growth right now is that we're kind of almost through it, but we are expanding pretty quickly, and so we didn't necessarily have the support system that we wanted. So we, had put the brakes on things for a little bit. While we built a team, while we built a logistics network, all of those things. There is a component of day to day life for us that is kind of building the plane while we're flying it. But there are a few important pieces. Excuse me. There are a few important pieces that we did not feel comfortable doing that to our folks that were new franchisees. So now that we are, fully set up, we are kind of through that bottleneck. And then the second one is always kind of managing a seasonal business. We are open year round in almost all of our locations, but figuring out how to drive traffic continually in a growth function during a season when ice cream is slowing down without changing the inherent part of our brand. And hey, Jim, 1 second. My daughter's
Sure,
asking for something here for school.
that's okay.
Yes, my love. Absolutely. All right. Got to get a water bottle ready.
That's okay. What's the unique value position for Millie's?
Yeah. The unique value proposition for Millie's is, I think, twofold. It is one that this is a fun business. It is, as I reference back to crazy chefs and crazy GMs and whatnot. This is a business that you get to wake up every day and make or sell ice cream, and that's very joyful. And for a lot of folks who are in kind of, you know, the great corporate retirement that has happened over the past 5 years. And I think, regardless of your politics, with COVID, people have realized, that there is a time frame to this whole thing we call life. And I think people have oftentimes said, what am I doing in this kind of corporate rat race when I would rather go kind of be my own boss? And
Hmm.
so we can offer that all the while having fun. You're working in a fun ice cream shop with fun music, with fun people, and people coming in are excited.
Hmm.
So that's number one. Secondly, the economics in ice cream are very good. Cogs are low. Labor is low, and we can operate a shop in a very small space and be very busy, especially in a urban or quasi-urban environment. So we can operate an 800 square foot ice cream shop that can do you know that can do very, very high six-figure sales.
Hmm. Awesome. And how about, is there any part of your business that is focused on reselling to retail?
We're working on that right now. I think that there is absolutely an opportunity for that, and that is kind of, to touch back on the bottleneck of growth in a, call it an off season, because
Hmm.
we've learned in Florida, for us Pennsylvania folks, 65 degrees is absolutely ice cream weather in Pennsylvania. But
Hmm.
down in Florida, people are wearing jackets.
Hmm. Yeah.
So we are working on a process slash program with franchisees to figure out how they can capture sales margin from people in their local marketplace, kind
Hmm.
of acting as a third party sales force.
Got it. What metrics are you focused on the most on a weekly basis?
Um, I think it depends on what department you talk to. Um, for me, for us, the biggest metrics for us is year over year growth.
Hmm.
We want to make sure that we are always moving forward. And if we look at it as in a super micro lens, obviously, last year this week might have been very sunny, and this year it might be very rainy, or vice versa. So we don't get too overcorrective in that environment, but we want to see that people are moving forward. And for the most part, they always are.
Are you able to speak to the year-over-year percentage for the past 2 to 3 years?
I'm not, because we've got so many different things opening. We are seeing locations that are 10, 15, 20%. We are seeing some that are 3 to 4, and then we have
Hmm.
a few that are not. We have a great location. It's a corporate owned location in Pittsburgh, and they have completely demolished the internal kind of town square for construction. And so the hope is that it'll make a difference. But that store's down 20-ish% because foot traffic is evaporated. So overall, we are up single digit percent, which is good. But it just is a wacky metric that we don't put a lot of um, stake in a global year over year percentage, because again, law of large numbers, small numbers. We have targets for everybody. Whereas saying everybody's up, 3%, great, okay, that's fine. But 3% to somebody who has a slightly slower store, uh, there's my son, um, is not enough, right? We want to push to 10 or something. So give me one more second
Sure.
here, Jim.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, off to the bus stop.
All right, perfect.
So yeah, I know that's kind of a vague answer,
Hmm.
right? And but it is we are constantly working to get folks to be driving forward.
And how many people are you employing currently? Full time,
Uh,
part time?
yeah, Millie's as a whole employs about 80 people, or Millie's corporate as a whole employs about 80 people, including everybody system wide is about 300.
Got it. All right. Uh, how do you think about budgeting in terms of solving the primary bottlenecks and challenges that you're dealing with right now?
Yeah, it is an interesting thing that we are always kind of trying to figure out as we are in a pretty aggressive growth mode. So the way that our model works is we manufacture the ice cream and we sell it to the franchisees, who then obviously resell it. And so as we are thinking about the investments that we are making towards the future, um, budgeting is less about what are we eking out from a net profit standpoint, but how are we building the system to be able to continue to fuel growth, new and established. And hold on one
Cool.
more second, Jim. I
Sure.
promise. One more drop, and then
That's okay.
I'll be good.
No problem.
All right. So, um, yeah, it is something that we are budgeting a lot from a support standpoint, from a production standpoint, to be able to fulfill any product requirements for kind of explosive growth, but also to support new folks and to be there when they need us to be there, kind of in the beginning term.
Got it. Now let's shifting over to more of an ROI framed question. Which investments have you made that have provided the biggest return on investment versus the ones that did not, the least?
Yeah. That's an interesting question again, right? Because with the two legs that we have, um, it ends up yielding two very different answers. And
Hmm.
so, from a high level, from a manufacturing standpoint, it is all human capital. Um, we are called Millie's Homemade. Obviously, I'm not making it in my home anymore, but we want a handmade feel. We want people doing it, right? And I know that there is a kind of counter message here, as the discussion is around AI, and AI provides a lot of really insightful things. I just edited 3 documents last night with AI, and so that provides a lot of value for us. But on the manufacturing side, it's the people, and they take a lot of pride and ownership in being there to do that and to serve something that they made and participated in. So, not necessarily that we view humans as an ROIable investment, but they are the folks who take it and they continually evolve flavors and kind of mission as we go. So I think that's a really important part for us on the manufacturing side. On the franchising side, it is definitely the partnership with franchise Fastlane Carpool. Um, they have driven a ton of value to us, not only in new prospective business, but just in a formalization of our process.
Hmm.
We built our process from start to finish. Obviously, not all at once, but kind of as we've gone, and we were very proud of it. And I think what we had going into Carpool was very good for a group like ours that didn't have any formal franchisor folks in it. Um, but now where we're at, it's just, I think it's extremely impressive. So that is the biggest investment in that.
In terms of systems and administration, where do the admin issues show up? Which category?
Um, I would say that they show up in probably document creation,
Hmm.
whether it be creation of SOPs. We've realized that, and again, to call back to my chef life, right? Like, I've been a chef in small restaurants, right? 40 seats, 50 seats. SOPs weren't a thing. Training was, hey, we're going to all go through this together with a small kitchen staff of 4 or 5, and then I'm just going to kind of watch you as you do it until you do it until I'm comfortable.
Hmm.
And that doesn't work when we're in multiple states, multiple things, right? Training gets falls apart that way. Not to mention, it would be mistaken on my behalf to not be willing to hear what a fresh-eyed franchisee has to offer. They're boots on the
Hmm.
ground, frontline folks. But then once we get that information, we are able to um, take it and make something out of it. And so somebody in Jacksonville tells us that a coffee training opportunity isn't what they thought it was, and they want to do it this way. And we realize, oh, this is great. This is something we can take and evolve where our training was at. But then it's, okay, now we need to create a PDF one pager that's branded that can be, disseminated to the staff. Then we need to make an SOP or a training document to tell them, you know, very bare bones how to do something. And then we need to figure out how to implement it in, digital format, video, whatever, for an LMS platform.
How about what does the current tech stack look like in terms of store level reporting, distribution, CRMs, POS, ERPs? What do you currently
Yep.
have implemented?
Yeah, so it is a heavy mishmash. One of our franchisees sold a business to Google, and so his passion is still creation of software, and kind of programs, apps. So he is building a kind of bespoke, really fantastic. You know, I don't know. I would call it more of an OS than anything. We are transitioning our manufacturing over to Oracle NetSuite. Um, our POS is Square. We use HubSpot as a CRM. We use a combination of Gibis and Esri for site selection. There's a lot, and I think it is wise for us in the next 24 months to figure out a clean kind of dashboard, single sign on, single source of truth for all of this, which we don't have right now, right? It's just Google saved passwords, go to the site. Yeah.
Hmm.
But we are building a Millie's internal app for our folks. It'll be a reporting dashboard. Um, and it has a lot of other things. It has some document library, kind of call it company intranet on it.
Looking forward, Chad, what's the primary goals in the next 12 months? If you could jump in a time machine 12 months from now, where do you want to be? And
Yeah.
where's realistic?
Yeah. I would like to have sold 30 more locations in the next 12 months. Obviously, that doesn't mean open. I would like to have all of our current sold ones open and having found themselves with a profitable first quarter. Um, and I would like to be 3 steps further down the path of our kind of call it company OS,
Hmm.
something that doesn't feel so jumbled, cobbled together. Something that I can say, here you go. Here's a link to this, and this holds numerous links to all of these different things. That is a bit of a big reach. I doubt
Hmm.
that's going to happen, but I think that the first two are highly likely.
What would you say are the biggest blockers preventing you from that ideal outcome?
I would just say, time and financial resources.
Hmm.
Um, our franchisee who's working on this, he is, him and his wife are also overseeing 2 locations and 2 trucks. So, it's not a full time effort. We get way more than we pay for, obviously, but
Hmm.
it's hard to, you can't require him to be a full time person because his full time is these shops. And then, I think if we had, you know, obviously it doesn't need to be unlimited resources, but if we had a large allocation dedicated to tech, we could absolutely do that. But we are still in kind of in growth mode, um, which pulls our resources in all different directions.
And Chad, if people want to find out more about the franchise model or Millie's, where can they find you? Where can they get more information?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is millieshomemade.com. There's all the kind of tabs on there. You can see our shops. You can see some of the fun stuff we're doing. We ship to 48 states, so you can order pints. I'd love to send you some pints, Jim, if you'd email me your address, send some pints
Happy
to
to.
your house. And there's a franchising tab there that you can fill out a form. Go to my wife, Lauren, and has some of the qualifications on there that are required. And, then you can end up talking to her. Um, for fun stuff, our Instagram's just at Millie's, and there's all kinds of fun stuff from us, from what our shops are doing, new flavors, all of that stuff. So those are our 2 main channels.
Perfect. Chad, love the craftsmanship meets scale story, going from Pacojet experimentation to a disciplined growth operation. For listeners, we covered ICP clarity, channel economics, and where AI can unlock demand for forecast and reporting. If you enjoyed this, follow Trust AI Partners for more conversations at the intersection of leadership, operations, and practical AI. Chad, thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, Jim. Have a great one. Talk to you soon.